this is prompt 66 of Neetcode 150, design Twitter. So let's read the prompt together. Implement a simplified version of Twitter which allows users to post tweets, follow, unfollow each other's, and view the 10 most recent tweets in their own news feed. Alright, so we can see to the right, we have the post tweet function, we have the get news feed, we have the follow function, and we have the unfollow function. Um, the I think the first few lines are quite self-explanatory. So um, we are also going to have to implement the Twitter object. We're going to have to build the constructor function. Great, great. Now they're not telling any super interesting information. I think the crucial parts are the first three lines. We can go see what time complexity they're requiring us. So they said we should aim for a solution with big O of n log n. We are actually going to do something better today than that, and that for each function calls, we should have O of one time for the other functions. So for follow, unfollow, which is actually simple, because if we create a hash map or a hash set, we can simply add the element or remove at a particular key, right, if we're creating a hash map. So this is actually not going to be quite a problem. I think that we should create these functions first. So initially what I want to do is that I want to create a hash map for the tweets. So basically we are going to create for each users a list of all the tweets. All right, so this is why we're using a hash map. And for a follow map, because we have to keep track of who's following who, I'm going to create a hash set so that every single user has a set of all the people or the user ID is following. So initially I will create a tweet map. So we're going to say self dot tweet map. Okay, and this self the tweet map is going to be, I will use a default dict for this. Okay, so we did our tweet map, and now we're going to do our follow map, which is going to be a hash set. So and I will also create a default dict for this and specify that we want a hash set. All right. For the post tweets, okay, we will come back to it later. We will first we'll do the follow and the unfollow function because they are very straightforward. So for the follow, well, basically the parameters that were given is the follower ID and the follow we ID. So who is following who. All right, so we are simply going to add to our follower map the key of the follower ID, and we're going to add who is now following. All right, so we can simply say set that follow map, and the default dict is going to take charge of the edge cases where the follower ID or the followee is not in the follow map or is already in the follow map. So no need to take care of that. So all right, so we added in the follow map the key of the follower ID that we're given, and also we are adding in the set of values the follower ID. Now for the following, for the unfollow, what we are going to do is that we're first going to check if the person that we want to unfollow is actually in our set of follow. So we're going to set if follow we ID. Okay, so if we are already following this person and we're clicking on unfollow, then we are gonna remove it from the follow map. Otherwise, it means that we are not following this person. So we can simply ignore this. Great. So we did our two bottom functions, which are the two easiest one with time complexity of big O of 1, right? Because we're actually just removing and adding at the specified ID. Now we actually have to jump into the core of this algorithm. And to do so, we are going to use a min heap. Okay, this is what is going to allow us to have um, such a short time complexity. And the logic is that for each post that we tweet, we are going to have to keep track of the order in which they've been posted. Okay, so we are going to keep track of the count, and at each post that are posted inside our tweet map, we are going to store the count, and we are going to decrement this count by 1. So every single count is going to be a certain negative value, and if a value is greater than the if the value of the count of a tweet is greater than the value of the count of another tweet, it means that it is least recent. Okay, so we are going to initiate this count in the init function, and we are going to set this to 0. So we're going to say self that count, and we're going to set that equal to 0. Great. And now in post tweet, what we're going to do is that we're going to add in our tweet map. So in tweet map, we're going to add the key user ID. Right, so for that particular person, we are going to append in the list the following informations. First, well, we want to count, so self that count, so it's a measure of how recent or old a tweet is, and we want to add the tweet ID that we are given in the parameters. And after this, we are going to decrement the count by 1. Okay, so this is how we are gonna set the tone for the get news feed, because notice that we want across all users that we are following, we want the most recent tweets. Okay, so basically we are going to create a min heap, and the top value is going to be the most recent tweet. So the count variable that we created in the init is actually is super crucial. Okay, this is what we are going to use to create our min heap. So let's go ahead and create the function get news feed. So we are initially going to create an output array, which is what we're going to return at the end. And we are going to set that initially to something empty. And we're also going to create our min heap. And one thing that we have to take into account is that a person can also see its own tweet when he called the function get news feed. So we are going to make sure that in the follow map of that user ID, we add that user ID so that person is sort of following himself, or itself. So we're going to say self dot follow map, and we want to reach the key of that user ID, and we are going to add in the set that user ID. Okay, so he's going to follow himself, and you can see his own post. And now the logic initially is that we are going to take every single users that the person is following, and we are going to add the most recent tweet of each users in the min heap. Okay, this is going to be much more efficient than adding every single tweet that every person that user is following inside the min heap. Because what if like that person is following one of these influencers that posts every 10 seconds? Well, it's going to get, our min heap is going to get quite heavy, and what we're going to do is that we're simply going to add the most recent value on the first round. So let's go ahead and do this. So we're going to say for following ID in basically the follow map at the key of the user ID. Okay, so for all these followers, we are gonna check basically if that person actually has tweets. Otherwise, we just skip that person. So we are gonna say if follow ID is in the tweet map. So if the follow ID is in the tweet map, this is where we want to add its most recent element. Okay. So I just want to mention also that once we add the most recent element or the most recent tweet for each user that this person is following, we are going to pop the most recent element in the min heap. And after this, we are going to check if the user ID or the person that we are following at, whose post has just been popped out of the min heap, still has other posts. And if that person still has other posts, we are going to add that most recent post or that most recent tweet inside the min heap. So that makes that if one person has the 10 most recent tweets, we will still retrieve these 10 most recent tweets. And it also makes that in our function here, we don't have to actually go get every single tweet of every single person we are following. So this is how we're going to save some time, okay? And you'll see how we handle this logic. So first, for each person that we're following, we are first looking if they have tweets. And if they do have tweets, what we're going to do, we want to get basically the most recent tweet, which is going to be the last element that has been added in the tweet map. So we are going to do this the following way. So we're going to say that the index is the length of the tweet map, right? So of the tweet map of that user key. So solve the tweet map, right? Add the following ID. Okay, and also it is important to remove one to this because we want to get the last element. So this way we have index, which is actually representing the last element of the tweets that this person has. Okay, and after this, we are going to be willing to retrieve from that tweet its count, right? Because remember that we are keeping track of the count that user posted the tweet. And the count is a measure of how old a tweet is. So we are basically going to retrieve the count and the tweet ID of the tweet map. Okay, so self that tweet map at that particular follow ID, and also add that index. So at the most recent tweet. Okay, and after this, we are going to be willing to push the value that we just retrieved. So we want to push that tweet inside our min heap. We're going to use the library heapq, which is going to allow us to use heap push to push basically inside the min heap the following values. So now we have to be wise because the value that we actually want to push inside the min heap is first we want to keep track of the count, the first count, because this is what we want to, this is the value upon which we want to base the logic of our min heap. Okay, so we want to put the count here. Then we want to keep the tweet ID. So we want to make sure that we have this. We want a tweet ID. We want also the ID of the person we are following. You will see why. And also we want to pass the index -1 because later in the code we are gonna retrieve the new most recent element of that person, and that new most recent element is basically going to be the index before the index that we use to consider as the most recent element. So by doing index -1, we are going to retrieve like the second most recent tweet of that person. Okay, so by doing this, for each person that we are following, we are actually going to create a min heap, pardon me, with every single most recent tweet of every single user that this person is following. And now this is where we are going to use a while loop, and we are going to use this while loop until there is a value in the min heap, or until the length of this output array that we have here is smaller than 10, because recall that we have to render 10 tweets. So basically we are going to add 10 tweets inside this output. So we're going to say while there is a min heap, and also while we don't have our 10 tweets inside the output. So while this condition, while both conditions are true, we are going to retrieve the most recent tweet in our min heap, meaning that we're just going to take the top value of our min heap. So we are going to retrieve the count. We're going to retrieve the tweet ID, the following ID, and the index. All right. So this is what we're going to retrieve from the heap pop. Okay, so now we have the most recent tweet in our ends, and we have its count, its tweet ID, its following ID, and its index. And we are going to append to the output simply the tweet ID. This is what they want us to get. Okay, and now that we have the most recent tweet in the min heap, we have to write the code that will acknowledge the fact that if one user has the 10 most recent tweets, well, technically we have to find a way to send these 10 tweets from that person, right? So once we add this most recent tweet in the output array, we are going to check if the new most recent element, without the one that we just popped out of that min heap, is actually existing, because it is possible that that person has no more tweets to as post only one tweet. So we are going to first check if the index that we're given is greater or equal to 0. Okay, if it is negative, it means that we used to, well, earlier on it means that we pop the tweet at the index 0. So that was the only tweet that person has done. Otherwise, we are going to retrieve the count and the tweet ID of that person in the tweet map, and we are going to push to the min heap its most recent tweet. Okay, so all right, so we're going to retrieve the count and the tweet ID from the tweet map. Of that following ID at that particular index. All right, and we are going to push in the min heap, basically the same thing that we pushed earlier on. So we are going to push using the library heapq, the function heap push. Okay, and we are going to push in our min heap. And what do we want to push? Once again, we want to push the count that the tweet has been posted at. We want to also have the tweet ID. We want to have the following ID. and we want to decrement the index by 1 to see if eventually that person has another recent tweet that we are going to add in the min heap. So this might be a little bit long, but this is actually one of the most efficient way to solve this problem. So once this is done, we can return the output just like that. Okay, and if I didn't do any mistake, the code should run perfectly fine. So we did a mistake. I did a typo actually on, let's see where. Okay, forgot a. All right, let's try this again. We get another error. Let's see why. Okay, I forgot. Did I use? Yeah, I think I use a capital or upper M everywhere. So let me just use this. Okay, and there we go. All right. So I hope you learned from this video, and I hope to see you in the next one.